Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode counting down Mate Nason's top 100 games of all time that I love to play. Today, we are going to be counting down number 30 to 21. So let's get to it. First game on my list coming in at number 30 came out in 2016, and that is Star Trek Ascendancy. This game is ranked in the 500s on Board Game Geek. This game is an amazing 4X game. You get to explore all these different planets, putting down these different warp lanes as you are doing so. You're conquering them, you are building your factories and your civilization buildings on them, all to upgrade this technology tree that you have in front of you to try to make your faction one of the best. You are then flying out and trading with the other players. There's going to be conflict as you're going to need to take over more planets. There are some fun expansions to this game to bring in all of your favorite factions from the Star Trek lore. You can even play against the Borg that are trying to assimilate and attack all players. What I love about this game, besides just the exploration and the technology tree and all that stuff, is this game plays really good at 3 players. There are not a lot of combatish games or exploration games where 3 players works very well. And this is one of them that shines at 3 players. Star Trek Ascendancy is a super fun game. Highly recommend it. Even if you're not into the Star Trek lore, this game shines. That's my number 30, Star Trek Ascendancy. Coming in at number 29 is another Dudes on a Map game, which I tend to not like that much. I'm not a big overarching war gamer, but this game does it well, and that is Lords of Hellas. This game came out in 2018. It's in the 200s on Board Game Geek. This is from the company Awaken Realms, the same people who did Nemesis. Lords of Hellas is a area control game. It's also a monster fighting game, and it's also a level up engine building game. The turns in this game are really simple. You're basically going to be taking one main action and maybe a couple side actions by activating your artifacts and different things you collect. You're moving your people around on the map, trying to fight Greek monsters. It's got kind of a steampunky feeling to it as you are in these mech suits, and the Greek gods are all in these sci-fi-ish suits. You can worship at these different god temples in order to gain their favor, to upgrade your armies. The game has a good pacing to it. It's got a lot going on. It doesn't run as smoothly as it probably should. It would be higher on the list if it wasn't as finicky, but just running around battling monsters and really getting these asymmetrical powers by worshiping the different gods really lets this game shine. A lot of fun playing it. Tons of fun expansions for this game to add in different gods, different heroes to play as. Lords of Hellas, my number 29. Number 28 is another war game. However, it's different than a traditional war game, and that is War of the Ring. This came out in 2012. It is ranked number 12 on Board Game Geek, a hugely popular 2-player game. And again, you have these asymmetrical sides where one player will play as Sauron and the evil forces, trying to cover Middle-earth in darkness, where the other player is going to be playing as the free peoples of Middle-earth, also with many side quests in this game. You could play it as a straight war game if you wanted to, but where's the fun in that? There's also these missions where, as the free peoples, you're trying to navigate Frodo all the way from Hobbiton to Rivendell and get him to Mount Doom to destroy the ring, in which case you win. Or as Sauron, if you can kill Frodo and find him, so you're sending out your ring wraiths. All at the same time, you are trying to manage the different area controls on this game, because if you can capture enough strongholds, you can also win the game. So it's this tug-of-war game. You're trying to manage these different fronts of this war. Fun storytelling elements to it as you're drawing these different cards to bring in famous leaders from the books. A lot of fun. If you love Lord of the Rings, this is a great game. War of the Ring. Number 27 is a game that came out in 2018. It is number 113 on Board Game Geek, and that is Endeavor, Age of Sail. This game it's a shipping game where you're trying to control these different shipping lanes all around the world, going from Europe to South America to India to North America. And as you are sending out your ships, you're putting your little tokens and your discs on these spaces on the board to control these lanes, these links, which will give you points by connecting them. You also need to unlock different regions. You can't just start going to North America. You need to upgrade this shipping track to open up that region. But it doesn't just open it for you, it opens it for all players that have started to invest in that region. You can become the governors of these different regions for more of those points. You can do minor combat with each other to break up each other's links. So if you have 3 or 4 links in a row, someone could come right in between there and bust up that link, which hurts your ability to score points at the end of the game. It's got a resource management aspect where you are collecting these different resources as you claim those circles on the board. It's got a beautiful player board in front of you to help you manage those resources. Even people who don't like resource management games like this game because it is so streamlined with how it works. Easily taught, easily played, easily grasped, and a ton of fun. That is Endeavor, Age of Sail. My number 26 favorite game to play is a sandbox style game, and in earlier videos I've talked about how I'm not a big fan of that genre, which is true, but this game is Streamlined, Vindication. Vindication came out in 2018, is currently ranked 241. Even though the game presents itself as a storytelling sandbox game, it is a Euro game through and through. You are managing these cubes to get them in different positions in order to net you points. The theme is there as you're putting these cubes in willpower and strength and things like that, but it is really managing these cubes and these different attributes in order to go out and fight monsters for points, collect relics for points. You are, at the start of the game, exploring this island together to find these buildings that will help you get an adventuring party ready to fight the monsters. Then you have to discover where the monster's lair is, for example. Great expansions for this game that add in even more things to do with those exploration. The art is just gorgeous in this game. Really fun, really streamlined. Vindication. My number 25 game is one of the worker placement games that I think is great as an introduction game, but it is also great at any level, and that is Champions of Midgard. This game came out in 2015, currently ranked 101 on Board Game Geek. Champions of Midgard is a worker placement game where you're trying to recruit these different Vikings, which are represented by these dice that have different faces for how they roll in combat. You are putting out your workers to build boats and get food and provisions to go out on quests. I think this game, you have to get the expansions. They are essential to making this game just wonderful, because you invest in all these Vikings, you run out and you're slaying monsters to collect different sets of colors, and then when your dice die with the Valhalla expansion, you can use those dead dice in order to buy more cards for some endgame scoring bonuses. So it really makes this economy going forward. It runs smoothly. And just who doesn't love chucking these big chunky dice to fight these monsters? It's tons of fun. Even when it's someone else's player's turn to fight the monsters, you'll scream around the table as people hit or lose. It's just a ton of fun. Champions of Midgard. My number 24 favorite game of all time to play is Forbidden Stars, a fantasy flight game by Corey Knizia, again, a designer who worked on Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition, as well as some other very famous fantasy flight games. Forbidden Stars came out in 2015, currently ranked 106. What I enjoy about Forbidden Stars is it takes elements of other games that I like and mixes them all together. It has some secret action selection similar to the Game of Thrones game, where you will be putting down these tokens to send orders to your different fleets. They are resolved in this order that they're stacked in these different regions on the board. You are trying to conquer and exploit these planets to build more troops in order to collect objectives. The game is great because you get to build a map which is different every game, where you're putting down the different systems, deciding where to put other people's objectives. Then you're trying to hold the planet so other people can't get their objectives, while simultaneously building up your forces to go ahead and conquer someone else's planet to get your objective tokens. The only thing that I don't like too much about this game is the combat can go on a little bit long. It's card driven and dice driven, and you have to play through a couple rounds, and then at the end of the round, then you kind of look through to see who has the most morale. That process kind of breaks up the flow of the game a little bit for me. I think the game would be a lot higher if that combat was a little bit more streamlined, but otherwise this is a solid game and really enjoyable. Forbidden Stars. My number 23 favorite game is Rurik, Dawn of Kiev. This game was kickstarted, came out in 2019, currently ranked in the 1000s on Board Game Geek. This game takes another interesting mechanic of action selection and puts it in an auction format. Where you are bidding to take different actions. Each turn you will take your advisors and you'll be like, I need to move my troops around the board this turn, so I'm going to set my advisor down on the movement track. But somebody else can come in, pay more money, use a higher advisor, and take that spot from you, knocking you down so you get a worse movement action. And then you can come back in and maybe outbid them. So you're bidding for the strength of these actions, for moving around or having a combat or trading with the different regions that you control. Unlike traditional dudes on a map, it's not a combat game. You can freely move through each other's regions. Controlling a region only really matters for giving it a discount to tax or build buildings. But even if you don't control a region, you can still build there, you can still tax there, you can still fight there. So it's really free and open. The game also has programming. I mentioned earlier Mechs vs. Minions is a great programming game. I like programming games as well. As you're putting your advisors down, you're also selecting your turn order of first I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. So you are kind of planning out your whole turn as you are bidding for these different actions. A ton of fun. That is Rurik, Dawn of Kiev. My number 22 game is a two-player game in the same vein as Twilight Struggle, and that is 1960 Making of a President. It is a area control game with a fascinating theme of running for president. One player plays as Nixon and the other as Kennedy. It's a card-driven game, a hand management game, where you're playing these cards in order to influence certain states to get them to vote for you so you can get their electoral college points to win the presidency. You're also playing cards in order to drive the debate and switch the different topics from maybe national defense or the economy in order to score more points from that, which helps you then get more influence in the different states. You have to actually move your president around on the board because you get different bonuses depending on what state you're in order to gain that influence. All the cards are very historically accurate based off different themes and events that happened in the 1960 presidential election. Really fun. If you like those hand management games, if you like those games like Twilight Struggle, this is another great game in order to experience that. That is 1960 Making of a President, came out in 2007, was ranked 202 on Board Game Geek, my number 22. To wrap up this list, my 21st favorite game of all time to play is another Matt Garrett's game, and this is Antique 2. Antique 2, I like to describe it as it's Twilight Imperium simplified in ancient Roman and Greek history. You have this beautiful map of the Mediterranean, and you have your own civilization where each round you're trying to score these objective points, whether it is by doing technology, whether it's by controlling different areas on the map, building your cities, trading. All these things will give you different objective points that are sitting on the board. Unlike Twilight Imperium, where the objective points kind of flip out randomly, all the different objective points are there kind of at the beginning, so you can kind of steer how you want to play the game, what you want to invest in. Maybe you can get in someone else's way by upgrading your science in a different way or taking over their control so they can't get those points this round. It is a fun game of negotiating around the table to control these different areas. I love Matt Garrett's games. I love his card-driven games like Concordia, and I love this area control game in TK2. This game came out in 2014, currently ranked in the 1000s on Board Game Geek, but it is my number 21 favorite game of all time to play. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, feel free to give me a like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments if there's any games on this list that you enjoy playing or you think should be higher or lower. I'd love to hear what you like or think about these games. And stay tuned as we are coming into the home stretch of the next top 10 games I enjoy.